I was in New York at a dinner, and the dinner was at this bar in Midtown, and they were giving away some conservative books. It was a conservative group. And you had your book by Sean Hannity, and you had your book by these other writers where I thought, I don't know, that's okay. I've read these things before. I don't need to get one. Then I saw this little book, and it had a very interesting cover.
Mm-hmm.
We can judge books by their cover. This is another.
No, I am 100% in agreement with this.
We judge cigars by the band.
Yes.
We
judge people by their looks.
Yes.
We probably shouldn't, at least if we know them for more than an hour. But in the beginning, what else do you have?
What else do you have? I mean, that's just what it's. Prejudice.
Yes.
is defended by Edmund Burke for good reason, because you're not going to write some 50-page analysis of every single decision you have to make. You wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
And so I see this cover, and it says at the top, "All nature is but art unknown to thee, all chance direction which thou canst not see," which is a line from Alexander Pope. Titles, coincidentally, the author, Father George Rutler.
Okay.
I look on the, but it doesn't say father. It just says George Rutler. I look on the back. I see it's got a blurb by Bill Buckley, and I was the first inaugural Buckley Fellow at Yale.
Okay.
And I just left college. And then I look and I see it's a Catholic priest, and then I see he's a Catholic priest at a church 2 blocks away.
Wow.
And then I see on the front on the front flap it says, "It's a wicked generation that seeks signs and wonders, but it's a stupid generation that ignores signs and wonders." I said, "Wow, okay." And then there's another coincidence. He had left the church that was 2 blocks away. He was now a pastor in Hell's Kitchen at a church called the Church of St. Michael. So that's a coincidence. And anyway, I start going to church.
Yeah.
And it really clicked. And this was a reverent Novus Ordo, very, very reverent Novus Ordo, ad orientem, smells and bells.
Altar rail.
I actually don't know if at that time there was an altar, because the church was in disrepair. Father Rutler was actually sort of rebuilding the place, put a baldachin in, he was.
Bless him.
But this thing, they were going to sell it. They were going to knock it down, and he really revived it. He and the Holy Spirit revived it. And I thought, oh, this makes sense. And it's why I'm really angry at the people who destroyed the liturgy, because I don't know if I would have remained in the church throughout my teenage years had we had a serious liturgy, but I suspect I might have.
Yeah, when we were renovating this cigar lounge, we had 5 layers of shag carpet and tile over these beautiful wooden floors and an awful drop ceiling. And when we explain this to people, they say, "Who would do that?" And my answer is the same people who invented liturgical abuse.
This
Cardinal
is Bonini
wonderful.
would do it.
Let's make it awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because how can you expect people to take an hour or 2 out of their Sunday to go get exactly the same thing,
just slightly worse?
Just slightly worse.
Like the jokes of the priest aren't that good. Like Norm Macdonald's actually better.
Yeah, of course.
Your guitar band is not as good as what I could be listening to, like the Eagles or whoever else. Like they're way better than you.
Right.
Why am I here?
Why am I here? That the jokes by the priest remind me of a line from Father Rutler, who was very instrumental in my reversion, who he said, in these new liturgical abuses, you see priests telling jokes like a ham actor in a dying vaudeville show. And those priests would do well to limit their repertoire to the jokes that St. John told the Blessed Mother while her son bled on the cross.
Oof. The other thing that does is it makes the priest's job a lot easier. Like, you don't have to be funny. Isn't that great?
Funny.
Like, you don't have to be entertaining. You just have to celebrate the holy sacrifice of the Mass reverently.
You just look, all the promises from the liturgical reforms after Vatican II, not synonymous with Vatican II as they would have us believe, but that occurred after Vatican II, and which were made easier by Vatican II, obviously, but which are separate.
Yep.
The promise was it's going to bring the youths back to Mass.
The young'uns.
Did that happen?
It didn't happen.
I don't think that happened.
In fact, it feels like there is an unstoppable movement towards tradition.
Of course.
Like the young trad men and women with their 800 children in oversized suits at Holy Mass, breastfeeding without shame.
Oh, yes.
They're like little weeds that will not be stomped down. I don't think that you're going to be able to stop this movement towards what's beautiful.
Of course. I do go, when I'm traveling, I sometimes have to go to the 1970s brutalist churches I try to find reverent liturgies, and sometimes I'm more successful than others. But I will also go for confession. Just if I need a confession, I'll go to the nearest church.
Yeah.
And so I go into these churches, and they're empty, and they're the median age is 96, and there are no children anywhere to be found. And then I go to my Latin Mass, and it's packed to the gills. You can't get a seat. You can't even stand. Often you have to stand in the sacristy. And you know the median age is 25, and they've all got 1,000 kids. And I think, okay, obviously we're going to win the Utes back. That part was crazy. And then all of the rest of it, the participation, we're going to participate more in the Mass. That's not true. The people who attend the crazy liturgies, their eyes are glazed over. They're sort of thinking about their lunch. They're performing for one another when there's, we're going to make the sign of the peace. For goodness sakes, I went to one of these parishes in L.A., and at the sign of the peace, people would traipse up and down the aisle giving peace signs to one another.
The worst is when they do the slingshot peace sign. Those people should be immediately excommunicated. If I were Pope, that's what would happen.
I assume it's automatic.
I think so.
I'm no canon lawyer, but I think, so that you give this performance, but you're not really participating. Where are people participating? People are participating in the Latin Mass when they're focused so intently on what is happening at the altar in this holy sacrifice. And so the participation thing, that was, just totally bogus. And all of the promises that were made did not come true.
So much so that even if you want to find a Novus Ordo church that's filled, it's the one that's being celebrated reverently. So we have Latin Mass here on the weekends, but we also have a 10 a.m. Novus Ordo, but it's Ad Orientem, Nihila, and it's like, how can we be expected to take this religion seriously if you weren't?
Of course.
Kind of thing. And the thing is, too, when you eradicate the church of its traditions, you invariably invent new ones. So when we lived in Ireland, my wife and I remember when the gifts were brought up, they brought up like a field hockey stick and a cardboard painting from the children because we offer everything to God. So it's like, you still have traditions, they're just hokey and not ancient or beautiful.
Right, we need to get rid of the chanted Kyrie and really all of the chant. We need to get rid of that. That's just people are just doing it as a sort of rote ritual. So instead, what? We're going to mumble our way through. I will raise you up on eagle's wings. And no, I mean that becomes not only a rote ritual that no one is really paying any attention to, but it's ugly. It's depressing. I think of Christopher Alexander, this writer on architecture and design, who made a simple observation that people seem to have forgotten. Every space that you are in will either slightly elevate or slightly depress your spirits.
Walmart.
Walmart.
I cannot go to Walmart. We're talking about this. My wife. I cannot go into Walmart without getting depressed within 3 minutes.
Of course.
Yeah.
The fluorescent lighting.
Yeah.
I insist my wife is going to kill me because it raises our costs on, because there's, the incandescent bulbs go out every week. But I don't care.
They're more beautiful.
They're so much more beautiful.
Michael, let me ask you, what happened to your spirits when you walked into Chesterton and Company Cigars?
I walked in like a king. Walking in, when you would walk into the old Penn Station in New York, which we can get a little glimpse of in Grand Central, which was the other beautiful train station that they didn't tear down. You walk in, sky-high ceilings, beautiful ornamentation. You walk in like a king.
Yeah.
When they knocked down the old Penn Station, they built this rat maze, which was the new Penn Station underneath Madison Square Garden, and you feel like a rat. And when you feel like a rat, you behave like a rat.
Yeah.
And when you feel like a king, you behave like a
That's
king.
right.
You look at modern courthouses. This is one of the clearest examples. Old courthouses, big, beautiful, solid, and they give you the sense, I bet even if you're the criminal himself, that there is a real solidity to the justice that is being done here. You walk into a modern courthouse, it's a little office room with some corkboard on the top, and you're probably scraping your head as you walk in.
It's not fitting.
Yes, it's not fitting, and you have this sense, this is just little men, and what are they hiding in here? What is going on in the dark recesses that I can't see?
Thanks so much for watching. Please like if you liked, and if you loved, subscribe.